Intrusive thoughts are ideas, images, or impulses that appear suddenly and uncontrollably, causing discomfort and anxiety. They are common and can happen to anyone, regardless of age, personality, or life circumstances. What defines a thought as intrusive is that it arises unexpectedly and is usually disturbing, often involving themes of fear, doubt, or guilt that don't necessarily reflect the values or desires of the person experiencing them. There are several types of intrusive thoughts, with the most common grouped into categories: aggressive, sexual, and fear-based thoughts. Aggressive thoughts may include ideas of harming others or oneself, even if the person has no real desire to act on them. Intrusive thoughts of a sexual nature often involve uncomfortable ideas or images, generally in inappropriate contexts or with people the individual considers off-limits. Fear-based thoughts can involve worries about losing control, doing something embarrassing, or something bad happening to a loved one. These intrusive thoughts are part of a natural and common psychological phenomenon, and they don't mean there's something wrong with the person experiencing them. Research suggests that nearly everyone has intrusive thoughts at some point in their lives, and they're often linked to factors affecting mental health, such as stress and anxiety. Stress, for example, is one of the most frequent causes of intrusive thoughts. In moments of pressure, the brain tends to respond more intensely to stimuli and worries, which can make unwanted thoughts appear more often. Anxiety, which often goes hand in hand with stress, can make people more vulnerable to these thoughts. The greater the anxiety, the harder it may be to ignore these ideas, and the more intense they may seem. Trauma is also a significant factor in the appearance of intrusive thoughts. Traumatic experiences, such as abuse, violence, or accidents, can leave lasting marks on the mind. These traumatic memories, no matter how much a person wants to forget them, can resurface as intrusive thoughts, especially when the individual is exposed to a trigger that recalls the trauma. These thoughts may be a way for the brain to cope with difficult or unresolved memories. Past experiences in general, beyond trauma, also play a role. Significant situations like the loss of a loved one, life changes, or difficult decisions can leave emotional memories. These memories may surface unexpectedly as intrusive thoughts, as if the brain is revisiting and reprocessing these experiences, even if the person doesn't want or need to at the moment. The tendency to develop intrusive thoughts can be influenced by individual characteristics such as personality or pre-existing mental health conditions, including obsessive-compulsive disorder, OCD, or depression. People with OCD, for example, may be especially vulnerable to intrusive thoughts, as they tend to fixate more on disturbing ideas. In these cases, thoughts that would be fleeting for someone without OCD may turn into obsessions that cause significant distress. Although intrusive thoughts can be uncomfortable and distressing, it's important to remember that they are not predictions or true reflections of what the person really wants or would do. These thoughts typically don't represent a real risk that someone will act on them. Understanding that they are normal and part of mental functioning can help reduce the emotional impact they cause. It's essential to find healthy ways to manage these thoughts. Relaxation techniques, such as meditation and mindfulness, can help reduce the impact of intrusive thoughts by promoting a calmer and more accepting mental state. Self-care practices like maintaining a regular sleep routine and a balanced diet can also help keep the mind healthy and reduce the frequency of unwanted thoughts. In more severe cases, seeking help from a mental health professional may be the best way to learn to manage intrusive thoughts, especially when they significantly interfere with daily life. In short, intrusive thoughts are part of the human experience and are a natural response of the brain to a range of psychological and emotional factors. Although they may be uncomfortable and frightening, they can be managed in a healthy way, understanding that they don't have power over a person's identity or actions. With self-understanding and, if necessary, professional support, it's possible to lessen the impact of these thoughts and maintain a balanced and peaceful life. Everyone, at some point, has had thoughts that seem to appear out of nowhere, disrupting their mind with intensity or strangeness. These intrusive thoughts, which can range from simple worries to unwanted images or ideas, are a common human experience. They are part of the brain's natural functioning, which constantly processes information, generates associations, and explores possibilities. Even if those possibilities seem nonsensical or uncomfortable, the human brain is incredibly complex. It creates millions of thoughts every day, many of which never reach our consciousness. However, from time to time, some thoughts stand out due to their unexpected or unsettling nature. These intrusive thoughts can be triggered by everyday events, anxiety, stress, or even the random flow of the mind. For example, you might be washing dishes and suddenly think of something frightening or absurd, like an accident or a scene of conflict. These thoughts can be disturbing because they contradict your values, desires, or feelings. However, this does not mean they reflect who you are or what you truly believe. It is important to understand that intrusive thoughts do not indicate mental weakness, emotional imbalance, or moral failure. They are, in fact, part of the human experience. Everyone encounters them at different levels. Some people may feel a stronger impact from these thoughts, especially if they have a more anxious personality or are going through periods of greater emotional vulnerability. These thoughts do not mean there is something wrong with you. They are merely a reflection of natural brain activity, which can occasionally generate unwanted images or ideas. While intrusive thoughts are normal, the problem arises when we start giving them more attention and importance than they deserve. This happens because the human brain tends to amplify the impact of thoughts that bother us. The more we try to resist or avoid a thought, the more persistent it becomes. Imagine being in a dark room and someone tells you, "Don't think of a red light." The first image likely to come to your mind is precisely the red light. Similarly, the more you try to suppress an intrusive thought, the stronger it seems to become. This is known as the mind's rebound effect. 1. Accept their presence. The first step to dealing with intrusive thoughts is to accept them. Recognize that they are part of the human experience and that on their own, they hold no power. A thought is just a thought. It doesn't define who you are or have the ability to control your actions. 2. Don't fight them. Instead of trying to suppress or eliminate intrusive thoughts, let them come and go like waves in the ocean. Don't hold on to them or feel guilty for having them. The less importance you give these thoughts, the quicker they tend to fade away. 3. Redirect your focus. An effective technique is to shift your attention to something positive or constructive. This could be an activity that requires focus, like reading, exercising, meditating, or talking to someone. The goal is to break the rumination cycle and give your mind a healthy focus. 4. Develop self-compassion. Often, we become our own worst critics when experiencing unwanted thoughts. Practice self-compassion by reminding yourself that you're not alone in this experience and that it doesn't reflect your true character. 5. Seek help if necessary. If intrusive thoughts are frequent and cause significant distress, it may be helpful to seek support from a mental health professional. Therapies such as cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, can help develop strategies for managing intrusive thoughts in a healthy and effective way. Managing intrusive thoughts is a skill that can be developed over time. When you recognize that these thoughts have no power over your life and learn not to give them excessive importance, it becomes easier to maintain inner peace and emotional balance. The key is to remember that intrusive thoughts are normal, but their significance depends on the attention you give them. By cultivating an attitude of acceptance, redirection, and self-compassion, you can turn these experiences into opportunities to strengthen your mental and emotional resilience. After all, the mind is like a vast sky where thoughts are merely passing clouds. They come and go, but they don't need to define who you are. Identifica and observing thoughts, a path to inner peace. The human mind is a vast and dynamic landscape where thoughts emerge like clouds in the sky, constantly shifting and evolving. Some thoughts are comforting, while others may be intrusive, persistent, and unsettling. To live more fully and consciously, it is essential to learn how to identify and observe your thoughts. This process not only helps reduce mental overload, but also promotes emotional clarity and overall well-being. The importance of recognizing patterns of intrusive thoughts. Intrusive thoughts often appear unexpectedly and can emotionally destabilize us. These thoughts might include worries about the future, regrets from the past, or harsh self-criticism. When left unchecked, they can lead to cycles of anxiety, stress, and even depression. Recognizing patterns is the first step to managing these thoughts. Intrusive thoughts often follow recurring themes, such as insecurities, fears, or unresolved issues. By noticing these repetitions, we can understand that these thoughts don't necessarily reflect reality, but rather narratives created by the mind. Adopt an observer's approach. Watching without judgment. One of the most effective ways to manage intrusive thoughts is to adopt the role of an observer. This means looking at your thoughts impartially, without fully identifying with them or reacting emotionally. Imagine sitting by the edge of a river, watching leaves being carried downstream. Each leaf represents a thought. You don't try to grab it or stop it from flowing. You simply observe as it passes by. Similarly, thoughts can be seen as temporary events that come and go. They don't define who you are unless you choose to hold on to them. This approach requires practice, but is deeply liberating. It helps create a healthy distance between you and your thoughts, allowing you to examine them without being consumed by them. Instead of judging your thoughts as good or bad, useful or useless, the goal is to simply recognize them as part of the mind's natural flow. Practical steps to cultivate the observer's mindset. Set aside time for reflection. Find a quiet moment in your day to sit in silence. Close your eyes and focus on your breathing. As thoughts arise, allow yourself to observe them without interrupting their flow. Label your thoughts. When a thought appears, gently name it. For example, if a worry arises, say to yourself, "This is a worry." If it's a memory, say, "This is a memory." This practice helps bring clarity and reduces over-identification with thoughts. Avoid immediate reaction. If an intrusive thought triggers strong emotions, remember there is no need to act or respond right away. Give yourself space to process it. Practice compassion. Sometimes, thoughts can be particularly challenging or distressing. Instead of fighting them or blaming yourself, practice self-compassion. Remind yourself that everyone experiences such thoughts and that they don't define who you are. Use journaling tools. Keeping a journal can be a powerful way to identify patterns. Writing down your thoughts helps you externalize them and view them more objectively. Master your thoughts. Don't be their slave. When you become an observer of your thoughts, a world of possibilities opens up. Anxiety loses its grip, stress diminishes, and self-awareness grows. You realize that you are not a slave to your thoughts, but their master. Over time, the practice of observation becomes a natural skill. It strengthens your ability to live in the present moment and cultivate a calmer, more resilient mind. Beyond merely managing intrusive thoughts, you learn to embrace the full complexity of the human experience with serenity and acceptance. Intrusive thoughts are mental experiences that can be distressing, but with the right techniques, it is possible to reduce the impact they have on emotional well-being. The practice of mindfulness emerges as a powerful tool for handling these challenging moments. Mindfulness, or being fully present, involves paying complete attention to the moment while observing thoughts, emotions, and sensations without judgment. When intrusive thoughts arise, they often gain strength because we fight against them or get lost in their narratives. Mindfulness helps break this cycle, allowing you to observe the thoughts as fleeting events rather than identifying them as absolute truths. For example, when practicing mindfulness, you might notice an intrusive thought as a cloud passing through the sky. It is present now, but it won't stay forever. This reduces the urgency and intensity with which these thoughts usually manifest. Accepting a thought doesn't mean agreeing with it or letting it control your actions, but rather recognizing its presence without immediate resistance. Trying to fight or suppress intrusive thoughts can often have the opposite effect, increasing their frequency and intensity. Acceptance offers an alternative path, allowing you to acknowledge the thought with kindness, recognizing it as part of the human experience. For instance, instead of saying, "I need to stop thinking about this right now," you can say, "I'm having this thought and that's okay. It will pass." This shift in approach can ease anxiety and create mental space to focus on what truly matters. Incorporate simple mindfulness practices into your routine. This might include conscious breathing exercises, guided meditation, or even practicing full awareness during a daily activity such as eating or walking. When intrusive thoughts arise, use these moments to observe, breathe, and accept them without clinging to or reacting automatically. Over time, These practices can strengthen your emotional resilience and transform how you relate to your thoughts, providing greater peace and mental clarity. Often, we are consumed by thoughts that drain our energy and make it difficult to focus on the present. Fortunately, there are simple and effective strategies to redirect your focus and regain control over your mind. One of the most accessible methods is counting your breaths. This technique involves inhaling and exhaling deeply while counting each breath from 1 to 10. If your mind wanders, simply start over. This exercise not only calms the mind, but also brings you back to the present moment. Another practical approach is to direct your attention to tasks or hobbies. Cooking, reading, painting, or learning something new can be powerful allies. These activities require focus and creativity, filling your mental space with something positive and productive. Physical exercise is an effective way to reduce the impact of unwanted thoughts. A simple walk outdoors, practicing yoga, or even a more intense workout routine helps release endorphins, the hormones responsible for feelings of well-being. Moreover, physical movement shifts attention from what's in your mind to what's happening in your body. Creative activities such as drawing, writing, or playing an instrument are excellent ways to redirect focus. They not only keep the mind occupied, but also provide a sense of accomplishment and joy. Additionally, creating something new can transform negative thoughts into something beautiful and meaningful. Adopting these strategies allows you to regain control over your attention, reducing the impact of thoughts that don't serve your well-being. After all, focusing on what truly matters is the first step to a calmer and more balanced mind. Cognitive restructuring is a core technique in cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, that helps individuals identify, challenge, and reframe negative and distorted thoughts. These automatic thoughts often negatively influence emotions and behaviors, creating a cycle of emotional distress. In practice, cognitive restructuring teaches individuals to question the validity of harmful beliefs and replace them with more realistic and positive interpretations. For example, when analyzing a thought like "I never do anything right," the person learns to identify evidence that supports or contradicts this idea. This process allows for a more balanced perspective, such as, "I made a mistake, but that doesn't define all of my abilities." By interpreting thoughts more rationally, CBT promotes greater emotional control, reduces anxiety, and improves overall well-being, helping individuals adopt a more constructive outlook on life. Nowadays, we live in a world where stress seems to be a constant. Deadlines at work, family responsibilities, and even social pressure can contribute to a state of constant alertness that affects both the body and the mind. In this context, self-care emerges not as a luxury, but as a vital necessity. It plays a fundamental role in managing stress, maintaining mental health, and promoting overall well-being. The connection between self-care and mental health. Self-care goes beyond a relaxing bath or an afternoon off. It encompasses consistent and intentional practices that strengthen our physical, emotional, and mental health. When we incorporate self-care into our routines, we are, in fact, building a solid foundation to better handle life's adversities. Some of the most important practices include quality sleep, a balanced diet, and the incorporation of relaxation techniques into daily life. These elements help reduce cortisol levels, the stress hormone, and promote a more balanced and resilient mental state. Sleep is the pillar of mental health. Getting good sleep is one of the simplest and most effective ways to care for mental health. During sleep, our brain processes information, consolidates memories, and clears metabolic waste that could impair cognitive function. Sleep deprivation, on the other hand, can increase irritability, hinder decision-making, and amplify the impact of stress in our lives. Maintaining a consistent sleep routine with regular times for going to bed and waking up fosters an internal balance that reduces the likelihood of intrusive thoughts. These thoughts, often characterized by anxiety or excessive negativity, tend to dominate a constantly fatigued mind. Therefore, prioritizing sleep is not just a matter of comfort, but a powerful strategy for mental health. Another essential component of self-care is nutrition. What we consume directly affects our mood, energy, and ability to focus. Nutrient-rich foods like fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and lean protein sources provide the necessary fuel for the brain to function optimally. Conversely, diets high in sugar and ultra-processed foods can contribute to inflammation in the body and brain, harming mental health. A balanced diet helps stabilize blood sugar levels, preventing mood swings and promoting greater mental clarity. Thus, caring for what we put on our plates is a way of caring for what goes on in our minds. Relaxation practices balance the mind and body. Relaxation techniques, such as meditation, deep breathing, and even physical activities like yoga, are powerful tools for managing stress. These practices help slow down the fast pace of daily life, allowing the body and mind to recover. Studies show that regular meditation can significantly reduce anxiety and stress levels while improving focus and well-being. Similarly, moderate physical exercise releases endorphins, happiness hormones that act as natural antidepressants. Even something as simple as a walk outdoors can bring significant benefits. Being in contact with nature fosters a sense of calm and connection, helping to relieve accumulated pressure. A healthy routine is an effective barrier against intrusive thoughts. When we create a consistent structure for our day, we practically reduce the space for the mind to wander into anxious or negative territories. By adopting positive habits such as waking up at the same time, exercising regularly, planning nutritious meals, and reserving moments for relaxation, we send a clear message to our brain. I'm in control. This sense of control is essential to minimize the frequency and intensity of destabilizing thoughts. Self-care and stress management are not indulgences. They are essential practices for a balanced and healthy life. By prioritizing sleep, balanced nutrition, and relaxation practices, we strengthen our mental and physical health, creating fertile ground for well-being. Maintaining a healthy routine not only reduces the impacts of stress, but also protects our minds from intrusive thoughts and destabilizing emotions. Therefore, taking care of yourself is ultimately an act of self-love that transforms how we face daily challenges. Intrusive thoughts, while common for many people, can become a red flag when they begin to significantly interfere with quality of life. They are described as unwanted ideas, images, or impulses that arise in the mind, often abruptly and disturbingly. Although these thoughts do not always pose a threat to mental health, there are situations where seeking professional help is essential. Persistent and distressing intrusive thoughts can be linked to conditions such as obsessive-compulsive disorder, OCD, or severe anxiety. In OCD, for example, these thoughts are often accompanied by compulsive behaviors or rituals that a person feels compelled to perform to relieve discomfort. In cases of anxiety, these thoughts may fuel excessive and catastrophic worries, causing emotional and physical distress. If intrusive thoughts are intense, frequent, and make daily life challenging, such as maintaining relationships, working, or simply enjoying leisure moments, it's important to consider that they may indicate a mental health condition that requires professional evaluation. Some signs that it's time to seek help include 1. Persistence. When intrusive thoughts don't go away with time or efforts to distract oneself. 2. Interference with routine. When they affect the ability to perform daily tasks, such as working, studying, or interacting with others. 3. Intense emotional distress. When they cause levels of anguish, fear, or guilt that feel disproportionate. 4. Physical impact. When they lead to physical symptoms such as insomnia, rapid heartbeat, or panic attacks. 5. Associated compulsions. When a person feels the need to perform repetitive actions to neutralize the thoughts. The importance of professional support. Professionals like psychologists and psychiatrists are trained to identify the root causes of these thoughts and propose appropriate interventions. Psychotherapy, particularly approaches like cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, is effective in treating intrusive thoughts by helping individuals understand and manage their emotions and behaviors. In some cases, medication may be necessary to balance chemical levels in the brain. Overcoming stigma and seeking help. Unfortunately, many people avoid seeking help due to fear of judgment or the belief that they can resolve the issue alone. However, it's important to remember that taking care of mental health is an act of courage and self-care. Intrusive thoughts that interfere with quality of life do not have to be faced alone. If you or someone you know is experiencing this, don't hesitate to seek support. Remember, the first step toward a healthier mind is recognizing that everyone deserves emotional well-being.